missing a word. The consultation of the lost travelers, with death by thirst staring them in the face, the resolution to press on while their strength lasted, the fall of a heavy shower, the vain efforts made to catch the rain-water, the transient relief experienced by sucking their wet clothes, the sufferings renewed a few hours after, the night advance of the strongest of the party leaving the weakest behind, the following a flight of birds when morning dawned, the discovery by the lost men of the broad pool of water that saved their lives, all this Midwinter's fast-failing attention mastered painfully, Allan's voice growing fainter and fainter on his ear with every sentence that was read. Soon the next words seemed to drop away gently, and nothing but the slowly sinking sound of the voice was left. Then the light in the room darkened gradually, the sound dwindled into delicious silence, and the last waking impression of the weary Midwinter came peacefully to an end. The next event of which he was conscious was a sharp ringing at the closed door of the hotel. He started to his feet with the ready alacrity of a man whose life has accustomed him to wake at the shortest notice. An instant's look round showed him that the room was empty, and a glance at his watch told him that it was close on midnight. The noise made by the sleepy servant in opening the door, and the tread the next moment of quick footsteps in the passage, filled him with a sudden foreboding of something wrong. As he hurriedly stepped forward to go out and make inquiry, the door of the coffee-room opened, and the doctor stood before him. "I'm sorry to disturb you," said Mr. Hawbury. "Don't be alarmed. There's nothing wrong." "Where is my friend?" asked Midwinter. "At the pier head," answered the doctor. "I am, to a certain extent, responsible for what he is doing now, and I think some careful person like yourself ought to be with him." The hint was enough for Midwinter. He and the doctor set out for the pier immediately, Mr. Hawbury mentioning on the way the circumstances under which he had come to the hotel. Punctual to the appointed hour, Allan had made his appearance at the doctor's house, explaining that he had left his weary friend so fast asleep on the sofa that he had not had the heart to wake him. The evening had passed pleasantly, and the conversation had turned on many subjects, until, in an evil hour, Mr. Hawbury had dropped a hint which showed that he was fond of sailing, and that he possessed a pleasure boat of his own in the harbor. Excited on the instant by his favorite topic, Allan had left his host no hospitable alternative but to take him to the pier head and show him the boat. The beauty of the night and the softness of the breeze had done the rest of the mischief. They had filled Allan with irresistible longings for a sail by moonlight. Prevented from accompanying his guest by professional hindrances which obliged him to remain on shore, the doctor, not knowing what else to do, had ventured on disturbing Midwinter rather than take the responsibility of allowing Mr. Armadale, no matter how well he might be accustomed to the sea, to set off on a sailing trip at midnight entirely by himself. The time taken to make this explanation brought Midwinter and the doctor to the pier head. There, sure enough, was young Armadale in the boat, hoisting the sail, and singing the sailor's "Yo heave ho" at the top of his voice. "Come along, old boy!" cried Allan. "You're just in time for a frolic by moonlight." Midwinter suggested a frolic by daylight, and an adjournment to bed in the meantime. "Bed!" cried Allan, on whose harum-scarum high spirits Mr. Hawbury's hospitality had certainly not produced a sedative effect. "Hear him, doctor! One would think he was 90. Bed, you drowsy old dormouse! Look at that, and think of bed if you can." He pointed to the sea. The moon was shining in the cloudless heaven, the night breeze blew soft and steady from the land, the peaceful waters rippled joyfully in the silence and the glory of the night. Midwinter turned to the doctor with a wise resignation to circumstances. He had seen enough to satisfy him that all words of remonstrance would be words simply thrown away. "How is the tide?" he asked. Mr. Hawbury told him. "Are there oars in the boat?" "Yes." "I am well used to the sea," said Midwinter, descending the pier steps. "You may trust me to take care of my friend, and to take care of the boat." "Good night, doctor!" shouted Allan. "Your whiskey and water is delicious, your little boat's a little beauty, and you are the best fellow I ever met in my life." The doctor laughed and waved his hand, and the boat glided out from the harbor with Midwinter at the helm. As the breeze then blew, they were soon abreast of the westward headland, bounding the bay of Poolvash, and the question was started whether they should run out to sea or keep along the shore. The wisest proceeding, in the event of the wind failing them, was to keep by the land. Midwinter altered the course of the boat, and they sailed on smoothly in a southwesterly direction, abreast of the coast. Little by little the cliffs rose in height, and the rocks, massed wild and jagged, showed rifted black chasms yawning deep in their seaward sides. Off the bold promontory called Spanish Head, Midwinter looked ominously at his watch, but Allan pleaded hard for half an hour more, and for a glance at the famous channel of the Sound, which they were now fast nearing, and of which he had heard some startling stories from the workmen employed on his yacht. The new change which Midwinter's compliance with this request rendered it necessary to make in the course of the boat brought her close to the wind, and revealed on one side the grand view of the southernmost shores of the Isle of Man, and, on the other, the black precipices of the islet called the Calf, separated from the mainland by the dark and dangerous channel of the Sound. Once more Midwinter looked at his watch. "We have gone far enough," he said. "Stand by the sheet." "Stop!" cried Allan, from the bows of the boat. "Good God! Here's a wrecked ship right ahead of us!" Midwinter let the boat fall off a little, and looked where the other pointed. There, stranded midway between the rocky boundaries on either side of the Sound, there, never again to rise on the living waters from her grave on the sunken rock, lost and lonely in the quiet night, high and dark and ghostly in the yellow moonshine, lay the wrecked ship. "I know the vessel," said Allan, in great excitement. "I heard my workmen talking of her yesterday. She drifted in here on a pitch-dark night when they couldn't see the lights. A poor old worn-out merchantman, Midwinter, that the ship-brokers have bought to break up. Let's run in and have a look at her." Midwinter hesitated. All the old sympathies of his sea life strongly inclined him to follow Allan's suggestion, but the wind was falling light, and he distrusted the broken water and the swirling currents of the channel ahead. "This is an ugly place to take a boat into when you know nothing about it," he said. "Nonsense!" returned Allan. "It's as light as day, and we float in 2 feet of water." Before Midwinter could answer, the current caught the boat and swept them onward through the channel straight toward the wreck. "Lower the sail," said Midwinter, quietly, "and ship the oars. We are running down on her fast enough now, whether we like it or not." Both well accustomed to the use of the oar, they brought the course of the boat under sufficient control to keep her on the smoothest side of the channel, the side which was nearest to the islet of the Calf. As they came swiftly up with the wreck, Midwinter resigned his oar to Allan, and, watching his opportunity, caught a hold with the boat-hook on the fore-chains of the vessel. The next moment they had the boat safely in hand under the lee of the wreck. The ship's ladder used by the workmen hung over the fore-chains. Mounting it, with the boat's rope in his teeth, Midwinter secured one end and lowered the other to Allan in the boat. "Make that fast," he said, "and wait till I see if it's safe on board." With those words he disappeared behind the bulwark. "Wait?" repeated Allan, in the blankest astonishment at his friend's excessive caution. "What on earth does he mean? I'll be hanged if I wait. Where one of us goes, the other goes too." He hitched the loose end of the rope round the forward thwart of the boat, and, swinging himself up the ladder, stood the next moment on the deck. "Anything very dreadful on board?" he inquired sarcastically, as he and his friend met. Midwinter smiled. "Nothing whatever," he replied. "But I couldn't be sure that we were to have the whole ship to ourselves till I got over the bulwark and looked about me." Allan took a turn on the deck, and surveyed the wreck critically from stem to stern. "Not much of a vessel," he said. "The Frenchmen generally build better ships than this." Midwinter crossed the deck, and eyed Allan in a momentary silence. "Frenchmen?" he repeated, after an interval. "Is this vessel French?" "Yes." "How do you know?" "The men I have got at work on the yacht told me. They know all about her." Midwinter came a little nearer.